You ever feel like someone close to you smiles to your face, but deep down, something's off? Like their words sound kind, but their tone cuts sharp. You can't explain it, but your gut knows. They don't clap when you win, they question it. They joke, but it never feels funny. They cheer for you, but only when you're below them. Let me tell you something. Hate doesn't always show up loud. Sometimes it hides behind a friendly laugh, a just joking, a fake hug. So if you've ever wondered why your peace bothers someone more than your pain, you're about to find out the truth about the signs that someone close to you secretly hates you. When someone truly cares about you, their support is steady. It doesn't come and go with your success. It doesn't fade when you start shining. But when someone secretly hates you, you'll notice their energy shift the moment you begin to rise. At first, they might seem genuinely happy for you. They'll congratulate you, maybe even post about you, but deep down, it burns them. Because your growth is a mirror that reflects what they haven't done, what they haven't achieved, and what they keep avoiding within themselves. You can feel it in their tone when they talk about your wins. There's a hesitation before the compliment. There's a subtle tightness in their smile. Their eyes don't match their words. And you start feeling that something is off, but you can't quite explain it. You question yourself, wondering if you're imagining things, but your gut always knows. Support that used to feel genuine now feels forced. Conversations that used to flow easily now feel heavy. You sense that they're no longer rooting for you, they're competing with you. The change often starts small. They stop asking about your projects. They stop showing interest in the things that matter to you. When you try to share something you're proud of, their reaction feels like an afterthought. A quick, "That's cool," followed by a subject change. They used to cheer you on, but now it feels like your happiness inconveniences them. Because your success reminds them of their stagnation, and instead of using that as motivation, they turn it into resentment. You'll notice they start keeping score. Not openly, but through subtle comparisons. If you got a promotion, they suddenly talk about someone else who did it faster. If you buy something new, they mention how someone else got a better deal. They can't let your moment breathe without inserting someone else's story to make yours seem smaller. That's how people who secretly hate you compete. Not through direct confrontation, but through quiet, constant undermining. They might even start creating distance while pretending to be busy. They're not too busy for everyone, just for you. Because being around your progress makes them uncomfortable. It challenges the version of themselves they've settled for. You've become a reminder of what they could be if they stop making excuses. And instead of celebrating your discipline, they start resenting your drive. It's a strange thing when someone close to you stops clapping for you. You feel it like a silence that speaks louder than any words. You share good news, and they go quiet. You accomplish something, and they find flaws in it. You start to realize that their presence drains you more than it uplifts you. And the more you grow, the more their true feelings start to surface, not in what they say, but in what they avoid saying. They might start minimizing your effort, acting like what you achieved isn't a big deal. You just got lucky. It's not that hard. I could have done that too. Those phrases are never about you, they're projections. It's easier for them to downplay your growth than to face their own lack of it. Because acknowledging your success means admitting they've been standing still. So instead, they chip away at your confidence, hoping to make you doubt yourself. When you're close to someone like this, it can be confusing. Because part of you still wants to believe they care. You remember the good times, the laughter, the support they once gave you. But hate doesn't always start loud. It grows in quiet places, in jealousy disguised as indifference, in envy hidden behind fake praise. The person who once pushed you to do better now secretly hopes you fail, not because they hate you personally, but because your growth exposes their insecurities. You'll notice their patterns if you pay attention. When you struggle, they're suddenly available. They'll listen, they'll comfort you, they'll play the role of the caring friend. But when you succeed, they vanish. Because your success doesn't need saving, and that means they lose their position of emotional control. Some people only feel powerful when you're struggling. They thrive on your dependence. And when you no longer need saving, they no longer feel significant. Watch how they talk about you when you're not around. The ones who secretly hate you will use subtle digs masked as jokes. They'll make others question your intentions while pretending it's harmless. They'll say things like, "I'm happy for them, but," and that "but" reveals everything. It's never about being happy for you. It's about making sure your light doesn't shine too bright in front of others. You might also notice how they react when others praise you. Genuine people amplify that praise. They join in. But the ones who secretly resent you go quiet or change the topic. They might even try to redirect the attention to themselves. Because deep down, your recognition feels like their rejection. They've built an identity around being better than you, and when reality proves otherwise, they can't handle it. Over time, their lack of support becomes impossible to ignore. You start seeing their absence not as coincidence, but as choice. You see how they make time for gossip, but not for your wins. You see how they get close again when something goes wrong in your life. It's not that they want you to fail, but your failures make them feel safe. Because as long as you're struggling, they don't have to face the discomfort of watching you outgrow them. And that's what happens when your growth threatens someone who hasn't done their own work. They'll label your progress as arrogance. They'll call your boundaries disrespect. They'll twist your confidence into ego because they can't stand to see you become what they never had the courage to be. Their silent hate isn't about you. It's about their reflection in your success. When someone truly supports you, they celebrate you in rooms you're not even in. They want to see you win even if they're not part of the story. But when someone secretly hates you, their support has conditions. They'll cheer for you only when they feel above you. Once you rise to their level or beyond, the friendship starts to feel colder. They start acting distant, sarcastic, or uninterested. All signs of a heart that can't be happy for someone else's joy. The truth is, it's not your responsibility to make them comfortable with your success. You don't have to dim your light just because refuses to shine. When their support disappears as you rise, it tells you exactly where their loyalty ends. And that realization is painful, but it's also freeing. Because once you see who can't handle your growth, you stop seeking approval from those who never truly wanted you to grow in the first place. They'll never come out and say they don't like you. Instead, they'll dress their hate in humor, wrap their jealousy in honesty, and call their cruelty just keeping it real. It's one of the easiest ways to spot someone who secretly hates you. They insult you in ways that make you feel like you can't call them out, because the moment you do, they flip the script. They say you're too sensitive, can't take a joke, or always overreacting. But if it was really just a joke, why did it hurt so much? Why did it stick with you long after everyone stopped laughing? This kind of person uses words like weapons. They aim for your insecurities and pretend it's harmless fun. They'll say things like, "You've really gained confidence lately, maybe a little too much," or "You're doing great, but don't get too full of yourself." Those little jabs aren't random. They're designed to keep you small, because deep down, your growth threatens their comfort. And when people can't control your progress, they try to control your perception of yourself. You'll notice how they always find a way to make you doubt your worth. They'll give compliments that sound supportive until you look closer. You're actually smarter than I thought. That outfit surprisingly works on you. You've come a long way. I didn't expect that. Every word is wrapped in a smile, but every sentence carries a sting. It's not encouragement, it's control. They want to remind you that no matter how far you go, you'll never be better than the version of you they created in their mind. They'll disguise criticism as concern. I just don't want people to think you're trying too hard. I'm saying this because I care. But notice when they give that kind of advice, it's never when you're struggling. It's always when you're shining, because their goal isn't to help you grow. It's to make you shrink just enough to keep them comfortable. Their honesty is selective. They'll never tell you how proud they are, but they'll always find a way to point out what's wrong. And the worst part, they'll say it in front of other people. Because their goal isn't just to bring you down privately. It's to make you question yourself publicly. You'll notice they save their jokes for moments when others are watching. They want the audience. They want the laugh. But what they really want is to chip away at your confidence while making it look like fun. It's the kind of manipulation that leaves you smiling on the outside, but shrinking on the inside. When you confront them, they act innocent. You know, I love you. Don't be so serious. I was just joking. They twist the blame so smoothly that you start second, guessing your own emotions. That's what they count on. Your hesitation, your kindness, your desire not to make things awkward. They use your emotional intelligence against you, knowing you'll take the high road every time. So they get to keep throwing stones while pretending they're only tossing pebbles. You'll start noticing a pattern. Their honesty never builds you, it only breaks you. Their jokes never make you feel lighter, they make you question your worth. Their truth isn't meant to help you grow. It's meant to remind you who they think you are. Someone smaller, someone weaker, someone who doesn't deserve to feel fully confident. It's not feedback. It's disguised resentment. People who secretly hate you don't want to look like villains. They want to look like realists. That's why they frame their negativity as wisdom. I'm just telling you the truth. They'll say, as if cruelty suddenly becomes kindness when it's labeled honesty. But real honesty uplifts, it helps. It comes from love, not from envy. What they're doing isn't being real. It's being resentful in disguise. They're careful, though. They'll never go too far. They keep it subtle. Just enough to make you uncomfortable, but not enough to make them accountable. It's a psychological dance, and you end up doing all the emotional work. You rationalize it. You tell yourself, that's just how they are, or they don't mean it like that. But that's the trap. The more you excuse their behavior, the more permission you give them to keep crossing lines. This kind of hate thrives in close relationships because it hides behind familiarity. They know your soft spots, your insecurities, your fears, your past mistakes. And they use that knowledge to make their insults feel believable. They'll mock your dreams under the guise of realism. You really think you can do that? That's ambitious for you. They know exactly how to plant doubt and call it advice. And because it sounds like concern, you believe them. You start second, guessing yourself without realizing it's their hidden bitterness steering your thoughts. It's not that they hate you for who you are. They hate what you represent. You're proof that change is possible. You're evidence that effort pays off. And that triggers something in them, because they'd rather keep pretending that success is about luck or connections than admit it's about consistency, something they refuse to practice. So instead of celebrating your progress, They try to distort your reality, making you believe you're not as capable as you actually are. And when you finally distance yourself, they'll play the victim. You've changed. You've become so sensitive. You think you're better than everyone, but that's not the truth. The truth is, you've started seeing through the mask. You've stopped laughing at their insults. You've stopped mistaking disrespect for humor. You've stopped tolerating what they call honesty, because you finally see it for what it really is: disguised hate. Once you start recognizing how they talk to you, you'll notice how often they hide behind sarcasm and truth-telling. They're not being brave by saying what others won't. They're being bitter because you've become what they can't. And they know that as long as they can make you question your value, they still have control. That's why their words are always coated in subtlety, too soft to expose, but sharp enough to wound. They want you to laugh it off, because laughter means permission. It means they can keep crossing boundaries without consequence. But deep down, you always feel it. That discomfort after the joke lands. That tension when you realize everyone laughed, but you didn't. That's not hypersensitivity. That's awareness. Your gut is trying to tell you that someone close to you isn't joking. They're revealing themselves. And once you start seeing the pattern, it becomes impossible to unsee. Every joke, every honest opinion, every just saying moment becomes clear. It's not humor. It's hostility dressed up as humility. They use words to make you small because deep down, your confidence makes them feel invisible. Their hate isn't loud. It's subtle, consistent, and calculated. But the moment you stop laughing at what hurts, you strip them of their disguise. And that's when you finally see who they've been all along. They'll clap for you in public, but deep down, they're keeping score. They watch your every move, not because they're proud, but because they're comparing. And comparison is the quiet language of hidden hate. You'll start to notice it in the way they mirror your accomplishments. If you buy something new, they suddenly just got one too. If you achieve something meaningful, they rush to mention something they did that sounds a little better. It's not coincidence. It's competition disguised as coincidence. They act supportive when others are watching, but their tone shifts when it's just the two of you. In front of people, they'll celebrate you. I'm so proud of what you're doing. But the moment the spotlight fades, that same energy disappears. They might follow up with a backhanded comment, a subtle correction, or a quiet reminder of their own achievements. They can't let your win stand alone, because to them, your success feels like their loss. You'll notice how they start treating life like a silent contest. Every conversation becomes an opportunity for them to prove they're doing just as well or better. They can't let you have a moment without turning it into a comparison. You tell them about a new job, and they reply with how stressful theirs is, but how much better it pays. You share that you're learning something new, and they tell you how they've already done that years ago. It's never about supporting your growth. It's about establishing control. They can't feel happy for you unless they feel ahead of you. And what's worse, they'll disguise this as motivation. They'll say things like, I'm just trying to push you to be better, or I love that we challenge each other. But it's not challenge they're after. It's validation. They want to feel superior while pretending it's mutual growth. Their compliments always have a competitive edge. Their advice always carries an undertone of, I know better. You start to feel like you're constantly proving yourself to someone who's supposed to be on your side. When someone secretly hates you, your wins don't inspire them. They irritate them. You'll notice they go quiet when something good happens to you. Not angry, not rude, just silent. Because that silence says everything. It's the sound of someone struggling to hide envy under a calm face. They might even try to rationalize your achievements. Well, it's easier for you, or you got lucky. They downplay your effort because admitting your success means confronting their lack of it. And it's not always about material things. Sometimes it's about peace. You'll see them compete with your happiness. If you're content, they'll find a reason to make you question it. They'll say things like, "You're too relaxed. Don't you worry about the future." Or, "It must be nice not having any real problems." They can't stand that your peace isn't performative, because while they're busy chasing validation, you've found freedom, and that eats at them. You'll also notice how they start mirroring you, but not in admiration, in imitation. They'll copy your style, your habits, your tone, even your goals. But there's a subtle resentment behind it. They don't want to be inspired by you. They want to outdo you using your own blueprint. They'll take what you do and twist it into their own, trying to prove they can do it better. And when you notice, they'll act innocent. "Oh, I didn't even realize we're doing the same thing." But you can feel it. It's not flattery, it's rivalry. Over time, that silent competition starts to drain you. You feel like you can't share your wins because they turn into a scoreboard. You hesitate before telling them good news because you know it'll be met with distance, sarcasm, or a forced smile. You start downplaying your success just to make them comfortable. And that's how their hidden hate wins. Not by attacking you, but by making you shrink yourself to maintain the peace. Sometimes they'll even use emotional manipulation to stay above you. They'll make you feel guilty for your growth. You're so busy now, you don't have time for real people anymore. You've changed. You're not as humble as you used to be. Those statements aren't observations, they're control tactics. They want to tie your worth to their comfort, because as long as you feel bad for evolving, they get to feel good about staying the same. When someone secretly hates you, they compete even in your pain. If you're struggling, they have it worse. If you're tired, they're exhausted. If you're going through something hard, they'll say, "You think that's bad? You should hear what happened to me." They can't let you have a moment, even if it's a moment of vulnerability. They want to be the center, even in suffering, because at their core, they don't want connection, they want control. You might notice them watching your every step, your social media, your interactions, your choices, but not to support you. They're looking for cracks, for proof that you're not as happy as you seem. They might even start copying your captions, your quotes, your tone, but subtly twist it with bitterness. They want to prove they can play your game and win it too. But what they don't realize is you're not even playing anymore. You're growing. They're performing. And there's a difference. They'll pretend to celebrate you when it benefits them. When your success gives them social credit, they'll post about you, tag you, say, "That's my friend." But when you truly need support behind closed doors, they disappear. Because their praise isn't about you. It's about how good they look being associated with you. They want proximity to your progress, not participation in your journey. They love being seen next to your light, but can't stand when it shines brighter than theirs. This competition wears many faces. Sometimes it's jealousy, sometimes it's insecurity. But underneath it all, it's fear. Fear that your growth will expose their lack of effort. Fear that your confidence will highlight their self-doubt. Fear that your independence will make them irrelevant. So they compete quietly, not to beat you, but to convince themselves they still matter. When you start seeing this pattern, everything clicks. Their mixed reactions, their strange comments, their inconsistent support. It all makes sense. They don't hate you outright because hate is too honest. What they feel is envy with a smile, It's resentment in disguise, competition pretending to be camaraderie. And as long as you keep growing, they'll keep playing the game they can't admit they started. The truth is, someone who secretly hates you can't celebrate your progress because it reminds them of their potential, the one they're not using. Your success is proof that their excuses don't hold up. Your consistency exposes their complacency, and instead of rising with you, they'd rather compete from behind. That's why their support feels inconsistent. It's not rooted in love, it's rooted in ego. You'll know you've outgrown them when their silence speaks louder than their applause. When their compliments start feeling transactional. When their presence feels heavy after your wins. Because real supporters don't need to compete. They're secure enough to celebrate you without questioning their own value. But the ones who secretly hate you can't help but measure themselves against you, pretending it's encouragement while quietly wishing you'd slow down. Peace exposes people. The moment you stop reacting, stop defending, stop explaining, you start to see who's been feeding on your chaos all along. When someone close to you secretly hates you, your peace bothers them more than your problems ever did. They were comfortable when you were broken, when you doubted yourself, when you needed their approval, because in your pain, they had power. But when you start healing, when you choose calm over conflict, their control begins to fade. And that's when their true feelings start to surface. They'll start calling you distant, cold, different. They'll say you've changed. But what they really mean is you've stopped playing the game. You've stopped explaining yourself every time they misunderstand you. You've stopped chasing conversations that only end in circles. You've stopped apologizing for having boundaries. Your peace becomes the wall that keeps their manipulation out, and they can't stand it. Because without your emotional reactions, they lose access to your energy. You'll notice how they try to provoke you again, just to see if the old version of you still lives there. They'll bring up old mistakes. They'll remind you of your flaws. They'll twist your words to make you defend yourself, because your calm makes them uncomfortable. It makes them feel small, irrelevant, powerless. People who secretly hate you thrive on chaos because chaos keeps you emotionally available to them. When you're peaceful, you're untouchable, and that terrifies them. Your silence becomes their trigger. They can't stand not knowing what you're thinking because your thoughts used to be theirs to control. They'll poke, they'll prod, they'll throw subtle shade just to get a reaction, any reaction. Because as long as you react, they still matter. But when you stop reacting, they're forced to face their own emptiness. And instead of sitting with it, they'll project it. They'll accuse you of being arrogant, detached, selfish. They'll turn your peace into a problem just to make sense of why they can't shake your calm. They'll start gossiping, twisting your silence into a story. You know, they've really changed. They think they're too good for everyone now. It's not that you've changed. It's that you've healed, and healing exposes who was only comfortable around your hurt. When you were struggling, they had something to offer: advice, sympathy, attention. But when you find peace, you don't need saving anymore, and that steals their role in your life. They weren't feeding on your friendship, they were feeding on your instability. Your peace acts like a mirror. It reflects back everything they refuse to deal with: their jealousy, their bitterness, their insecurity. They start to resent how effortlessly you handle what used to break you. They hate that your energy is harder to access now, that you don't rise to every bait, that you don't fall into every argument. They'll say things like, "You've changed," when what they mean is, "I can't control you anymore." Because your peace has boundaries, and boundaries reveal who was benefiting from your lack of them. The shift happens quietly. You start responding slower. You stop defending yourself. You stop explaining things to people who don't want to understand. And that silence, that calm, it drives them crazy because they mistake your peace for weakness when in reality it's power. They'll try to pull you back into old patterns just to feel comfortable again. But every time you choose not to engage, you remind them that the version of you they could manipulate doesn't exist anymore. They might even test your patience in subtle ways. Backhanded comments, passive-aggressive texts, little acts of disrespect disguised as jokes. They're not looking for clarity, they're looking for chaos. Because chaos gives them something to hold on to. But when you stay calm, you take that power away. And suddenly, they're left alone with themselves. And that's what they can't stand. Because it was never really about you. It was about the control they lost when you found peace. You'll know someone secretly hates you when they seem more irritated by your calm than they ever were by your pain. When they used to comfort you, now they criticize you. When they used to listen, now they provoke. When they used to offer advice, now they start arguments. Because people who secretly hate you can't stand to see you become self-sufficient. They prefer you in pieces because the whole version of you doesn't need them anymore. They'll say things like, "You used to be more open," or "You don't tell me anything anymore." But what they really mean is, "You don't give me ammunition anymore. You've stopped oversharing with people who only listen to collect. You've stopped letting them in on your plans because you noticed how often they doubted them. You've stopped explaining your choices because you realized they weren't trying to understand. They were trying to control. Your silence is no longer submission, it's protection. And that protection is exactly what they hate. Because your peace exposes their noise. Your calm reveals their chaos. Your stability highlights their emotional immaturity. They can't stand how you've stopped chasing closure, stopped proving your point, stopped needing validation. They used to feed off your reactions. Every sigh, every argument, every emotional breakdown gave them relevance. Now your peace starves them of that power, and their resentment grows. You'll also notice how they start trying to pull others into their narrative. They'll paint you as distant, uncaring, hard to reach. They'll say you've changed, like it's a bad thing. Because if they can't make you react, they'll try to make others react to you. It's the last trick of someone who secretly hates you. They can't handle losing your energy, so they go after your image. But the truth is, the louder they talk, the clearer your peace becomes. Peace doesn't always make people proud of you. Sometimes it exposes who was only around for the drama. The ones who secretly hated you were never comfortable with your healing. They were comfortable with your chaos. Your pain made them feel powerful. Your peace makes them feel powerless. They'll do everything to get a reaction because that's how they measure their importance in your life. But when you stop responding, you start reclaiming yourself. They'll notice the difference, and they'll try to pull you back with guilt. You don't care like you used to. You're so hard to talk to now. They'll say it's love, but it's control wrapped in emotion. Because love respects peace, hate resents it. And when someone secretly hates you, your calm feels like rejection. They'll try to turn it into conflict because that's the only space where they know how to operate. You don't need to prove your peace to anyone. You don't need to explain your silence. The ones who truly care will understand it. The ones who secretly hate you will misinterpret it. They'll see your peace as distance, your boundaries as arrogance, your self-control as weakness. But that's because they can't handle a version of you that no longer fuels their ego. When you become peaceful, you become unpredictable. And that's the scariest thing to someone who secretly hates you. They can't manipulate what they can't predict. They can't control what doesn't react. and they can't compete with someone who's not even playing. So they'll talk, they'll provoke, they'll gossip. But what they really want is your attention. Because as long as they have your reaction, they still have relevance. That's why your peace bothers them. Because your peace means you've outgrown their chaos. You've stopped feeding the dynamic that kept them comfortable. You've stopped defending yourself against people who were never listening. You've stopped trying to fix relationships that only thrived when you were broken. Your peace doesn't just protect you. It exposes everyone who was benefiting from your lack of it.